Imagine a world where every child has access to clean, safe water, proper sanitation, and understands the power of hygiene. A world where hope flows with every drop of water. Durartu from Ethiopia used to miss class frequently due to lack of proper sanitation and hygiene facilities at school. She was often battling illnesses from unsafe water, but thanks to Water for Good's interventions, reliable, safe water now flows right on her school campus. And she is a leader among her classmates and community, teaching others about the transformation improved sanitation and hygiene can have on their lives. Durartu is now a healthy 11-year-old, attending classes every day and dreaming of becoming a scientist. For her, water has directly impacted our hope for a brighter future. Then there's Mandazu, a mother and small business owner from the Central African Republic. The closest water point to her home was a swamp. She felt hopeless watching all her hard-earned profits go to doctors to treat her children, who constantly fell sick with diseases related to dirty water. Now, with a new water system in her community, her kids are healthy, allowing her to focus on growing her business and creating new opportunities for her family. Safe, reliable water and improved sanitation and hygiene have opened up new horizons for Mandazu and Durartu, and many more like them. Hope is flowing. Stories like these are the reason we're driven to act. Right now, our team is working tirelessly to bring hope and life-changing resources to more people, just like Mandazu and Durartu, in the Central African Republic, Ethiopia, and everywhere we work. Your support has the power to change lives. They are waiting in anticipation for the future these life-changing resources will bring them. We can't do this without you. Give today, and let hope flow for healthy, brighter futures.
Hello everyone. Today we have very special recording dedicated to the life of service, I believe. We know that ancient truth teaches us that the rich man is not the one who takes. The truly rich is the one who is actually able to give, provide the life of service. I believe we have to do more videos and talk about it a lot more. We, Human Brain Expo, already had collaborations with not-profits, but I believe we have to really put it on a new scale. It talk more about true warriors who are actually up there helping people, changing life of people who really need it. Today we have very special guest, Tyson Wise, and he and his family are involved in huge, absolutely huge project. When I first time heard about it, I was absolutely amazed, because I don't think that many or any people is able to have that mindset and ability to approach things in the way how Tyson's family is approaching. So it's a true honor for me. And we are very happy to see you here, Tyson. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Genya, for having me as your guest, and just tell a little bit about my life story, my family, and how we got connected to eventually Water for Good, for who I now work for, but just understanding the world water crisis and how I got connected to that. So I'm excited to share that with you, and just really excited to let people know that it's a huge problem, but it is solvable. And we can get into that a little bit later.
Yes. So I know that you and your family it got involved in this absolutely global project, because you already helped people from different countries. And that's absolutely amazing. And you, as I know, you worked on it since 2016. And the entire idea that you, just as individual, just with your family, decided to get involved and help people from other countries. That's absolutely amazing. Can you please tell a little bit background, like how even you came up with this idea of helping people from other countries? Why did you bother? Why did you
Yeah.
start?
No, it's a great question. I would say first of is start with, we're a family of faith and just looking at the person of Jesus and his life. And you alluded to it's the idea it's better to give and to serve than to receive. And that's kind of been the DNA of my wife Janelle and our family, and something that we really wanted to implement and give a vision to our kids. So it was just part of kind of how they were raised. And my wife happened to be reading a book called The Long Walk to Water with my son Harrison, who was 7 at the time, back in 2016. And it was about this gentleman who was South Sudanese. He ended up becoming a refugee through civil war and unrest, ended up in the United States, and then he grew up, became a man, and went back to South Sudan and started putting in wells in villages and communities. And at the end, it talks about Water for South Sudan was the name of the organization. And my son Harrison was like, Mom, I want to help Salva. I want to help him put in a well. And, my wife, being a good mother, said, Well, that's great. How are you going to do it, Harrison? And he said, Well, I know how to bake, and we can bake muffins, and we can do a muffin sale, and we can raise money and help put a well in a village in South Sudan. So we got behind his idea. We spent weeks baking muffins together as a family, and just kind of going around to different parks here in Boise, Idaho is where we live. And lo and behold, we raised close to $8,000 for a well in South Sudan. So my son has a well there. It says Harrison and Friends, and he's the one in the middle with the red apron on. So through that just, and after that experience and the joy that he got and the joy that we got as a family, and really kind of a unique, kind of really cool thing that happened was it really brought community. It brought our neighbors together. It brought our friends together. And it made us aware of really the water crisis in the world. And, 703 million people lack access to clean and safe water, which I wasn't aware of until we did this first muffin stand. And then over time, we've honed it in. We do it for a week now. We do it from a Wednesday to Wednesday.
So let's start with first of all, 8 years old boy able
Yeah.
to cook. That's already impressive. Okay, let's start there. Then we are like, seriously, we're adults. We're adults here. Let's talk about like really money. Okay,
Mhm.
how many muffins? So your family, your kid, literally your kid, like we're talking about this 8-year-old boy, able to go how many, like 15,000? 15,000, right?
Well,
But
yeah. So the whole family got involved. So I have 4 children. So Harrison, he has a younger brother and younger sister, and he has an older brother. So, and my wife, and then friends and family came
how many?
over.
So how many eggs did you like? How many? You need a
Oh,
lot
how
of
many
like.
eggs? Oh my gosh.
Like it's a lot of a lot of cooking.
That's a lot of eggs, a
Sometimes
lot of
I do
flour.
sometimes for charity I do things, and
Yeah.
every time if I do something, I am so tired. And like I'm literally like I did a couple of times like cooking for charity, and it's like I was almost dead.
Oh yeah. I bet we baked 3 to 4,000 muffins, and I don't know how many dozens that is. You have to divide that by 12, but we have a nice kitchen. We have 3 ovens, so we can get a lot done, you
Three
know.
ovens. But still,
Yeah,
so we are talking about like thousands of muffins.
thousands.
Oh my gosh! And how many? So how long it took for you? How long?
Oh, I mean, days. I mean, so one of our things that we pride ourselves on is we don't want to sell uh, a muffin that's 3 days old. So we always are kind of cooking fresh muffins. We have 7 different varieties. We have pumpkin chocolate chip. We have
Seven. Okay.
lemon blueberry. um, we have gluten-free, dairy-free ones. We have some semi-healthy that's more of like oat bran, carrot. So we end up getting 7 muffins that we do, and yeah, we just are baking mornings, till afternoon. And then when the kids come home from school, we sell the muffins from 3 to 6 o'clock at night. And then on the weekends from morning till evening. So it's kind of fun. And then we live on a corner of a busy street, but we also have some acreage. And so we get my mother-in-law's horses and we put the horses on the corner and we put big signs on the horses that say muffins for sale, help, support clean water. So
Mhm.
there are marketing. They bring a lot of people in.
No, that's great. Okay, so we understood the entire idea of baking muffins and making like 15,000 from selling muffins. That's impressive. Okay, let's move forward in terms of the like turning those money like it's not like 50. Well, thinking about like selling muffins by a kid, that's a lot, right? And but that's not much of a making change for someone in the middle of Africa, so how you end up putting so wisely those money like into people in need in another country. How was like we understood this idea came from the book, right? It was
Yeah.
very interesting novel. So how you even came to Africa? Can you please explain this, because it's very interesting?
Yeah. So the first was the Water for South Sudan, which was, in Africa. And then another organization we gave to, they're called Wine to Water. And
Mm-hmm.
they work in Africa. They also work in the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gave to them the second year. And then the third year we came across an organization called Life Water that
Mm-hmm.
works in Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, and Cambodia. So that it's a non-African country. Um, and just a quick side note, now they're a part of Water for Good, but and we wanted to find an organization that was, one, reputable, right? They had a good charity rating. Two, that our dollars would go something that would make high impact. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
with when you put a well into a community that can service 300 to 500 people,
Mm-hmm.
and you may know this, but girls in these African countries, women, children,
Mm-hmm.
girls, spend on average 200 million hours um, a day collecting water. That's that's not clean, not safe. So when you put in a well, then they only have to travel 30 minutes. It provides an opportunity for girls to go to school, which is, huge important. It lifts people out of poverty because now they're not spending so much time walking in water. Plus, they're safer because when they go out and they walk mile, 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
miles, hours, they could be attacked by an animal or another human.
Yes, and the thing is, you're basically providing the entire infrastructure. So I know that this organization, it develops its own understanding of the infrastructure of the villages, right?
Correct.
You basically you it's that's not um, that much, not expensive from our perspective, but it's provides some sort of like several locations where people can like learn how to keep things clean, right? And
Correct.
how to find clean water and how to so um, in terms of the value of this particular project, we know that so there are multiple issues in the villages, right, related to the diseases. A lot of
Yeah.
they spend a lot of time, money, etc., just to keep their kids and themselves healthy, simply because of the water and sanitation around, right? Then as you mentioned, like kids can't even go to school or spend some time like learning, reading books, simply because they most of their time is just go to get some water, right?
Get some water. Yeah.
Okay, so and the, the do you know the numbers? How much is like the cost of the infrastructure of like one local little village? How much like
Yeah.
a little?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
So we like to call them water points, which most of the
mm-hmm,
time they are a well, but it could be a spring that you're tapping. But
mm-hmm,
um, so for Water for Good, with your organization I'm working for now, um, our average cost across our programs for a village
Mhm.
is 8,000 for a well, and that can service, like I said, anywhere from 250 to 500 people in that
Mhm.
village. So if you take that and divide it at 8,000 divided by that 500, it's about $30 a person. So
Mhm.
like, and then the impact, I mean, your return on your investment per se, or your donation dollars is
Mhm.
huge. Um,
Yes, and you're literally changing a life of thousands of people,
Yeah,
right?
thousands. Yeah. So this year alone, Water for Good, we provided clean and safe water to 55,000 new people across the 5 countries that we work in. Um, but one thing I want to touch on real quick, if you don't mind, because you're talking about the health side and
Yeah.
the diseases
So
and sick.
also would like to mention that if someone would like to donate, please, you're very welcome. And we encourage donations for the projects of Water for Good. Here's the QR code that you can access, right?
Correct, and that will take you
Okay.
right to the donation page.
Mm-hmm.
And just so our audience knows, it's $60 will provide clean water for one person for an entire year.
That's great.
Yeah. So just something tangible for them to realize,
Yes,
hey,
yes, because we live in a different infrastructure. We um we have hard time understanding an issues and how much it really costs to change people's life. And
mhm,
people live in all sorts of conditions. Like we think that we live like in a super advanced age of humanity, but the truth is most of the humanity lives in is like really behind and
yes,
on multiple things, on healthcare, on like very simple basic things including water, food, etc. Yes, please tell a little bit about the benefits people getting from
yeah, because I want to touch on the sanitation and hygiene
yeah.
piece, because that's a
Hmm.
really important part. Because what we realized is when you put in a water point or a well, if you don't have a very robust, systematic sanitation and hygiene component to that, 90% of the people are still getting sick, because a lot of the communities that we work in have open defecation because they don't have pit latrines or built pit latrines. So each home in the village that we work in, they build their own pit latrine to a very specific way that we have them, that it's ventilated, has a cover for the toilet hole. Each home then builds their own bathhouse so they can have, and it's built in a certain way they can catch the water so it's not running everywhere. They build a hand washing station, a dry rack station. Then not only how to get the safe and clean water, but how to store it and maintain it so it doesn't get contaminated. The importance of keeping their animals kind of corralled in a certain way. So then when each home in our village becomes a healthy home, they get those 6 things, and we're at, in that village is at 90%. Then we bring in that well point, because what we see when we have those um, robust sanitation and hygiene, we reduce that illness and sickness by like 85 to 90%. So now only like 5% of the people may still get like
It's
sick,
amazing.
but we're
Hmm.
eliminating childhood diarrhea, which is huge because every 2 minutes, a child under 5 dies from childhood diarrhea. So by being able to provide clean water, sanitation, and hygiene is huge to these communities. And really the big piece is they become their own change makers. They change their lives. We just provide the tools, but they're the ones who become the change makers. And then what's another part that's really important about the sanitation hygiene, which I know you'll appreciate, is we build really nice latrine blocks, and making sure that they're dignified, they're clean, and then we have a nice hand washing station around those latrine blocks, because when girls get to menstruation age, if they don't have a dignified way to take care of that, then they'll drop out of school. So it's another way to keep girls engaged, keep them in school, keep them educated, and then the parents spend less time, one, going getting water, and two, with children being sick at home, and so they can start like like a business, or they can go to work and create a little more economic development. We have a woman in Ethiopia who is able to start her own little coffee shop. She's a 25-year-old mother. Her kids are in school, and now she's able to sort of be a beacon of light for the community because she's the coffee shop. So I mean, it's you're changing people's lives health wise, but you're also economic. Um, and one thing that's really important too is having a sustainability piece around our wells and well points, because 60% of wells in sub-Saharan Africa stop working or they go dry within the first 14 to 18 months. So what we do is we create a water committee around that well. So if something breaks or whatnot, we have the ability to make sure that they get it fixed. And then as an organization, we keep an eye and we monitor that.
Yes, I was about to ask how we can control the situation, how we can monitor, especially on the distance, probably hard because they probably need repair. They.
Yeah, so each of our countries, so we work in
Mhm.
the Central African Republic, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Cambodia. Each country has an in-country director, and then each of those directors we have employees under them that go and work and live in these communities. And then we actually have an international headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and so we have a director that oversees all our country directors. So everybody's really well and connected and integrated. And then we use a system called MWater. And what that does is our field staff can go in the field and
Mhm.
take a baseline study and implement it on the digital platform. And then that gets uploaded to our system so we can
Yeah,
manage
that
it,
was yes.
monitor it.
This was another question: how you can control the water. So, and water does specific filters for the cleaning. Like, what's usually
So most of
to.
our wells, the water that comes out is clean water. If there is some filters, we do have some filter options if that's necessary. Um,
Okay, it's basically it's goes from the ground stream.
ground, yep.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, and
but
then they have like hand pumps, so like a mother or a child they can walk to the where the well is, and we make sure that they have it fenced so the animals don't get in the water source, and they just
mm-hmm,
either can do a hand pump. We
mm-hmm,
also do solar pumps where in the Central African Republic we have some big water towers, and
mm-hmm.
then there's a solar pump with tap stands. So then they just turn the little spigot, and the solar pumps the water, and they can fill up their can to take home for
That's amazing. And there's never been any issues with the local um, authorities.
Oh,
For me, it always
what?
a question because I have. It's
That's a
always
great
like
question.
always controversial because I see like different um, opinions and I
Mm,
see like different authorities from Africa with a different perspective on things. Some I know. Um, like some authorities in African countries, they have like strong perspective on like leave us alone. We know what they're doing. We're living, we've been
mm.
this for all our life. We know what we're doing. We don't want any intrusion. So I'm just wondering how you guys doing with the local authorities, because that's, I think it's an interesting question because some of them can be against any
Yeah.
activities.
I think one thing that helps with that relationship is we hire in-country staff. So our in-country, if we're in Uganda,
Mhm.
they're Ugandans. If we're in Ethiopian, they're Ethiopians. Like we really believe in the power of hiring in-country staff because they know their communities, they know it works well, they know the culture. So a lot of 40% of our 50% of our staff is in the countries that we serve. So I think that helps with that relationship. And then two, we're really trying to work in the most impoverished areas and
Mhm.
most underserved, highest level of poverty, and least developed. And when the government comes in and sees our work, they're really impressed because of not only the wells, but the sustainability piece around the wells, and then the sanitation hygiene. And they see, their citizens starting to thrive. So I think over the years and the relationships that we've built in these countries and our longevity, we've proven ourselves that we're a trustworthy partner and that we're doing good work. I don't know all the details, but I know we're specifically working with the Ethiopian government to do some pipe
Mhm.
systems. And so and then really in Central African Republic, we've had a really good 20-year relationship with the government, and we provide basically from the center of the country to the west coast, almost most of the water for the people. So we're providing water to over 1 million people in the Central African Republic.
Let's a little bit get back to the real numbers and
Yeah.
because I was impressed. So you and your family, your kids,
Yeah.
been involved in this project since 2016, and basically almost every year you had a very specific goal for entire family to raise a specific amount, and you did like you really changed lives in like, oh gosh, it's like in multiple countries since 2000. How many projects did you accomplish so far?
Yeah.
Like
So we 2016, if you want to put that up real quick, it'll help me look at it. Thanks. 2016, 2017. And then in 2018, we lived overseas in Costa Rica, so we didn't do a muffin sale that year. And then 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we were actually selling muffins during the pandemic, which was actually a really good community because, people would just drive by and everybody was masked up, even though we were outside, but then we'd hand them muffins. But people love to be able to like get out and do something. Like it
Oh my
brought
gosh, yes.
our community together. And one thing I wanted to point out just for our local community, and sort of, I would say like a double benefit of doing something like this, was we had a number of people said, hey, we don't really want muffins, but we'll give you $500 or $1,000. But what we would like you to do is take that many muffins worth, because it's $5 a muffin, and go give them to the women's shelter, or go give them to the homeless shelter, or the rescue mission, or this organization that's helping other people. So it's kind of this really neat double benefit. Like we got the money to provide for an organization to do clean water, but then we're also giving fresh baked goods to a local organization in town. So it's this kind of this double whammy, I guess. So yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you're trying to help as many people as possible, but overall, like in terms of like water, the entire approach is absolutely amazing. So what is your plans? It's exciting to have, because taking into account the vision, the mindset of your family, of your kids, they probably already, they grown boys, they probably have a lot of exciting plans for the future. So what they're doing, because we see on the picture little boy, but he probably
little boy is now 16. He's not so little.
Yes, here we go.
Yeah, so he's on the far left in the gray and holding the sign that says everyone. Yeah, so he's 16 now, and I'm not he just has a big heart. We have a partner that does what they call a walk for water up in Chico, California, kind of over by your area. And the lady, her name's Sky Adams, and she does a walk for water. And my son and I are going to go and help out at that event. And the proceeds that are raised there, she gives a portion of that to the Water for Good organization, which she's been a fantastic partner. Because she sees the necessity and the need. And it's a tangible thing, because people will carry buckets of water for 1.5 miles to represent like the average that women have to carry the water for, just to give them some texture there. Contextual.
Okay, that's amazing.
But,
so
for my son Harrison, I don't know, he has a big heart. He loves to give. He's done other community service hours. I don't know. He just has
how to find, because your family is like really impressed, does a really amazing thing. So how, like, do you have like Instagram, whatever? How to find your family? To follow
that's
you?
Great. Yeah. So when we do our muffin sale, we just do a big Facebook blast. And then now that we've been doing it a number of years, and we kind of do it at the same time, usually at the 1st of October, end of September. So everybody kind of expects it now. And then I'm involved with Rotary Club here locally. So I get my Rotary Club involved, get some other friends involved. It's just the community coming together, and we're just sort of the rallying cry and the pinpoint of doing that.
That's amazing. That's amazing of the entire story is like, it's a good example of how you don't need much to help
No,
other
you
people,
don't.
to
You just have
change
a
lives.
you just have to have a willing heart and a desire just to do something. Because my son, when he was 7, he's like, "Hey, I want to bake muffins," and we're like, "Yeah, let's get behind this." But we're like, "We'll probably raise a couple, maybe $1,000, not a whole, not enough to put a whole well in." And once people
Yes.
understand the need and they get behind it. And the one thing that I really love to do when we're out there at the muffin stand,
Hmm.
because we live really close to our river,
Hmm.
um, and especially when it's a young girl who comes up, I say, "Hey, pick up this jerry can," because I fill it with water. I'm like, "That's pretty heavy." And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's heavy." I was like, "Now you have to walk in a mile with this and go get some water and then come back. And the water you're getting is actually dirty. It will make you sick." So that's what most of the girls in Africa have to do. So by you buying a muffin, you're helping change a girl who's your age's life. So I really try to get them to understand and make that connection and open their mind to the
Yes, and
possibilities
perspectives.
and
Yes, and
perspective. Yeah.
perspectives. It's a different environment. Yes, people don't. Yes, you don't need much to help others. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing story. We highly encourage you all to get involved, help, donate. Thank you so much for sharing your family story. Amazing. Wish you all the best and keep in touch. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor and a privilege. Thank you.